Welcome everyone to this week's Tarot Tips. We have got the Empress. There she is in all her glory. The Empress is all about fertility. She's all about nurturing. And like all the major arcana, it's underlying energies. It's not always obvious what's going on, but she comes into play when you're in that planning stage, when you're in that pregnancy phase. She can indicate births of real children. She can indicate pregnancies coming forward, but she's just as much about home and hearth, if not more, because obviously we're not getting pregnant every day, hopefully. So what we're looking at there is if you're planning a business, if you're thinking about buying a home, she's that stage where you're nurturing the idea along. You may be saving money, putting things in the bank, getting people together, creating teams, sounding out ideas is part of it, but also putting into place those basics that you need to have a creation come out the other end. It's the buying of the paints for the painting. It's the getting the materials together for any project is the Empress card essentially. She's very much about self. That is, we're drawing to ourselves those things that we need, those things that we want to manifest something, but we also have to look after it, and she's very much there. When you run into problems with the Empress card, it's usually about letting the creation go, letting your children go, leave the nest, putting your paintings out there on the wall, or sharing it with the world in some other way, sharing your writings, your books. When she runs into trouble, it's going to be about not being able to release, not being able to let go of those things. She's not about release in general, just release of your own creations, putting them into we create something because we want to create it. But once it has a life of its own, once it is created, once it's birthed, then it must go on and evolve in the way that it needs to evolve. And then our role changes from nurturer to whatever that might be, depending on the creation, to parent if it's a child, to organizer if it's a business, those sort of things. Our role within that changes once you've put it out there. You have other influences at play within that creation, and how you manage that becomes something completely different. She does, indicate a time of needing to nurture oneself or needing to nurture. So if she shows up and you've got business issues, if you've got problems at work, it's saying you need to pay attention to the foundations. You need to pay attention to the business, give it more nurturing, give it more time, give it more energy, even if that tires you out, like feeding the baby at night, and they go through this little burst at 3 to 6 months where they're suddenly hungry and suddenly growing, and you may be feeding every 2 hours. A lot of mothers today don't even have the basic stamina for parenting in that way, and go to a night bottle or get the husband to feed. I don't have a lot of time for that, but at the end of the day, this is what nurturing is about. Nurturing is about giving something of yourself. It is not about taking from somebody else. So if this card appears in your reading, whatever the question, it says there's a need for you to nurture something. If it's in relation to events going forward, or if it's in relation to something you've already created and it comes up, you've already got the business, you've already got the things going on, you may need to let them have their head. You may need to let them grow. You may need to let them mature so that you can benefit from them in a better way, or in a more constructive way. So the Empress is all about that. She's that period before the birth, not once the creation is in play. So if she comes in after the creation is in play, then it's suggesting one of a few things. You need to nurture and continue to nurture, or you need to let go of your creation so that it can grow even larger. You need to put it out there. Very often when there are things that a person wants, when there is something they want to come back to them, they get down and do the work all right, once they've created it, but they're not necessarily nurturing the business as such. They're not necessarily nurturing it along. And the same with children. They get to a certain age and we give them a lot of freedom, or we don't. She comes in if we're feeling a bit needy and finding it hard to let go. So that's our Empress card for the day. So everybody have a great week, and be looking for our next card will be the Emperor. Thank you so much. Have a good time.